So one thing I've always wanted to do is make the Ghoulsaw go vroom. The thing is though, the more you make it go vroom, the faster you vroom past the enemies and you don't do a lot of damage, so that's obviously a problem. Now I've tried to solve this problem on numerous occasions, but I was never quite able to do it. It would always either go vroom or it would do damage. But Whispers in the Walls added a lot of new melee stuff, so I decided to give it another try. One way to do it would be to use Tennokai, so that as we vroom around, we occasionally proc Tennokai and then do a big hit with a heavy. But that's less vroom and therefore unacceptable. Then I thought about using melee duplicate, because the Ghoulsaw only has 15% crit chance, so with Blood Rush and maybe a Gladiator mod, we would sit somewhere around 100% crit chance, so we could duplicate our crits with duplicate, which would help a lot. Then I thought about using melee exposure for a while for a bunch of extra corrosive damage, which is nice as well. And I even thought about using melee vortex, because balling the enemies up into a neat little pile and then vrooming through them is hilarious. But in the end, I ended up doing something completely different. I turned the Ghoulsaw into a vrooming Warcrime with melee influence. Now melee influence is fairly easy to get. You can get it from the Mocking and Scathing Whispers, the Fragmented Boss, Netra Cells, and you can also buy it from Chicken. Now the way this arcane works is extremely cool. Whenever you proc electricity with your melee weapon, you have a 20% chance to get a buff that can last up to 18 seconds, which spreads all elemental status effects you proc with that weapon to all enemies within up to 20 meters. However, since this requires an electricity proc, you are somewhat limited with the kind of status procs you're going to be spreading around. Electricity itself is fantastic because it already chains, so you are spreading a chaining status effect, which is fantastic. But outside of that, you have Blast, which is not great, Vital, which does make a lot of sense, and Gas, which is where the Warcrimes come in. Gas, even though it's not great versus the Grenier and the Corpus, is absolutely fabulous for this, because gas procs create a damaging cloud around the enemy, and those clouds can and happily will overlap, so it does more damage the higher the enemy density is. It's also just kinda cool. It's like we're killing the enemies with the fumes from the Ghoulsaw. Maybe? Let's check out the build. So the build actually looks surprisingly sensible, though one thing you will notice is that I do not run crit. The stats are just too low, 15% crit chance, 1.9 times multi. I would rather have the range from Reach and the faction damage from a Smite mod. Outside of that, it's pretty straightforward. Prime Pressure Point for damage, Berserker Fury for attack speed, Weeping Wounds for status chance, and then Shocking Touch for electricity, and Virulent Scourge with Volcanic Edge for gas. And melee influence, obviously. And as with any setup that doesn't proc its own Viro, having a companion that does it for you is always a good idea. Now, while this works well versus the Infested and even the Corpus, you're gonna need some armor strippage when it comes to the Grenier. I like to use the Bone Boy with an equilibrated Terrify build that, once Mold Augmented stacks up, strips 100% of the enemy armor with Terrify. This allows you to rip and tear through Grenier Steel Path. Well, almost. There is a slight problem with this. Alright, Angs, let's see what your... Oh no. Oh no. Can we talk about... Okay, you can keep the galleon, it's yours. Acolytes take a lot of room to kill. Like, a lot. Well, couldn't you solve that problem by employing... Shh. What did I say? Tennokai is not Vroom. Jokes aside, you could use Tennokai to take care of the Acolytes, or you could just have a really strong single target weapon that's specialized for Acolytes. I don't, because I want to go Vroom. But you could, if Vrooming them to death is too hard for you. Though luckily that's pretty much the only problem with this. Well, kind of. What are you made of? I swear to God, I'll have you recycle into Grenier toilets, you stupid great. When I figure out how to rip you off the wall. But anyway, that's pretty much all there is to it. It's just a fun Ghoulsaw setup that worked surprisingly well. Took me a while to get to it, but I think this is pretty much as good as it's gonna get. It's really nice. And as always, guys, I thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video and you will give this setup a shot because it's stupid amounts of fun. And I would also like to extend a special thank you to all the channel members. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate your support. It means a lot to me. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.